Someone posts a video, 24 years old, $10 million, 3 months, and you sit there watching it like, wait, what am I even doing with my life? That feeling you just got? That's not motivation. That's a trap. And today we're going to talk about exactly how it works. We need to have a real, uncomfortable conversation about something that is quietly making an entire generation feel like failures. Not war, not poverty, not some global crisis. A thumbnail, a title, a number on a screen. Because at some point, and I need you to be honest with yourself here, you've watched a video, seen a post, or read a caption from someone claiming insane results in an impossibly short time. And instead of scrolling past, something in your chest dropped. Something in your brain whispered, "You're behind." That whisper, that's what we're talking about today. Let's start with the actual mechanics of what's happening. I'm 24 and I made $10 million in 3 months. Read that again. Now ask yourself, do you actually know if that's true? Do you have access to their bank statements? Their tax returns? Their actual numbers? No. You have a title. You have a thumbnail with a shocked face and some big font. And your brain, your incredibly smart, pattern-recognizing brain, took one look at that and immediately started comparing it to your own life. This is not an accident. Content creators, and I say this as someone who makes content, know exactly what they are doing when they write a title like that. The goal is not to inform you. The goal is to make you feel something intense enough to click. Shock works. FOMO works. Comparison works. And 10 million in 3 months does all 3 in 6 words. Here's what they don't put in the title. The 7 years before that. The failed businesses. The debt. The people who helped them. The industry they were already in. The timing that had nothing to do with skill and everything to do with luck. That part doesn't get a thumbnail. Now here's where it gets dangerous. When you see something like that, your brain doesn't just think, oh, interesting. It runs a calculation. It looks at that number, it looks at your current situation, and it produces a verdict. You're not doing enough. And the problem is, once that thought is in your head, the algorithm makes sure it doesn't leave. You watch one video about someone making passive income at 22. Now your feed is filled with 19-year-olds with Lamborghinis, 21-year-olds who retired their parents, and 24-year-olds who made more in a quarter than most people make in a decade. You are now living inside a highlight reel that has been specifically curated to make your actual life feel small. And here's the twisted part, you start calling it motivation. You tell yourself you're watching this to stay inspired, to stay hungry, to keep your standards high. But at some point, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, it stops feeling like fuel and starts feeling like a weight. You're not energized after watching it. You're anxious. You're restless. You go to bed feeling like you wasted the day even if you work 12 hours. That's not motivation. That's comparison in a costume. I want to be clear about something before I go further. This video is not about telling you to aim lower. It's not about settling. It's not about pretending big numbers aren't possible. They are. People do build real wealth fast. Growth is real and we should believe in it. But there is a massive difference between inspiration and pressure. Inspiration says, that's possible, let me get to work. Pressure says, if I'm not there already, I'm losing. And the content being pushed at you right now, especially in the digital marketing and business space, is almost entirely pressure disguised as inspiration. Here's why that matters. When you feel constantly behind, you stop thinking clearly. You stop being strategic. You start chasing whatever the next person is doing because staying in your own lane feels too slow. You make reckless decisions. You abandon things that were actually working because you didn't see results fast enough. And ironically, the thing that was supposed to motivate you to build faster ends up being the exact reason you never build anything at all. I've seen it happen. I felt it happen. You get so caught up comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 15 that you forget to actually write your own story. So what do you actually do? First, optimize your timeline. And I mean that literally. The people you follow, the content you watch, the creators you give your attention to, that is your environment. And your environment shapes how you think whether you realize it or not. If your feed is filled with people who make you feel inadequate every single time you open the app, that's not a motivation problem. That's an input problem. Fix your inputs. Unfollow, mute, or simply scroll past anything designed to make you feel behind rather than build you up. You're not being weak. You're being smart with your attention. Second, define what your pace actually looks like. Because behind is a word that only makes sense if there's a finish line everyone agreed on. There isn't one. There's no universal timeline. There's no age you're supposed to hit a certain number by. Someone making 10 million at 24 is not proof that you should have done the same. It's one data point out of 8 billion people on the planet. Your growth is real even when it's quiet. Even when it's not thumbnail worthy. Even when nobody is posting about it. The person who built something real and sustainable over 5 years is not losing to the person who went viral for 3 months. The compounding of consistent work will always outlast the spike of a single result. I want to leave you with this. The content telling you that you're not doing enough, it was never made for your benefit. It was made for clicks. And the pressure you feel after watching it, that's not a sign that you're failing. That's a sign that the hook worked. You are growing. Maybe not at the speed of a viral thumbnail. Maybe not in a way that fits neatly into a title. But you are moving. Be careful what you let into your head. Because what you consume shapes what you believe is possible. And more importantly, what you believe you're worth right now in this moment before any milestone. Stop measuring your progress against someone else.